So on Sunday, I am flying to Switzerland for the premiere of my piece with the Lucerne Symphony called Harmony and Understanding. And the idea of this piece is that there is no audience. So the first half of the piece, the conductor comes out and teaches the audience its part. So everyone in the audience has a score, not as full a score as the conductor does, but they have a one-page sheet with their instructions, and everyone is given a rehearsal in how to realize the instructions. Then the orchestra comes out and the piece is played, and that's the piece, you know. And so for me, the really beautiful thing about that is that everyone has to do it. You know, it's like everyone is part of it. Everyone participates. Mm-hmm. There is not the sense that we have in classical music, which is that it is made by specialists, and most of the people involved just sit on the sidelines and twiddle their thumbs. Mm-hmm. You know, I love sitting in an audience and watching great things happen in front of me, and I also love sitting in an audience and sleeping and spacing out. You know, that's totally great. But this is a piece where, again, you know, because I feel like we have few opportunities for people to come together and say there's a reason why we need each other. And I feel like one has to take those opportunities and reinforce this notion, or one can take this opportunity. And this is, you know, here's the world we are living in. You know, our world is saying, I don't want to pay for your children because I don't want them to play with my children. Mm-hmm. I don't want to pay to educate you. You know, I don't want this person from this country in my country because that country, you know, I don't like the color of the skin of the people from that country. You know, why can't you be from another country where you have my same skin color? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, there's so many decisions, you know, that are about that. So the way schools, you know, the most important thing that happens in life, the most important person we have in our society is a school teacher. Mm-hmm. The absolute most important thing that happens is where someone has knowledge to share with someone else. You know, that should be like, if I were, you know, king, right? Then we would have a world where bankers were incredibly boring because they did, you know, mortgages and that's it. And where teachers were rock stars and we would pay them all the money in the world because they are the people who are saying to young people, oh, you know, the world you've inherited, it doesn't have to be that way. It could be better. You know, let's talk about the ways it could be better, right? That's the teacher's job, is to imagine this utopia where things can be improved, right? There's so many things in our world right now that are trying to keep us from seeing that. And that should make us angry. So without going into all of them, you know, the way this affects music is really interesting. Those students in an underprivileged, minority-heavy, person of color-heavy school district in Philadelphia don't have their instruments fixed. They don't have money to pay their music teachers. They don't have money for art. They don't have money for all these things. You know that people in suburban, white, wealthy districts, in their public schools, they have money for that. That's unfair. That is not going to build the society that I want to live in. And so in every way, we have to figure out how to use our abilities to try to imagine the world we want to live in and then try to build it. So one of the problems for classical music that has always upset me, and it's historic, it's not about our time, it's historically been a plaything of the rich. You know, the number one benefactor of music has been the church. And so, you know, the church hires musicians, you know, 1,000 years ago. You know, these were the first professional musicians ever in the world, right? People were paid to sing religious music. So, you know, we have entertained wealthy people. The names of Beethoven's commissioners are on his scores, right? We refer to his pieces by the names of his commissioners. There's a long history of art and wealth coexisting. Mm-hmm. That's not a terrible thing. I'm not saying, get rid of that. That's what we do, right? But what I am saying is that it's possible for classical music to get a stigma that that's all it is. And for me, the thing about those pieces, Beethoven may have been paid by a rich person, but what he is doing has a message for us. It has a message for everyone. It has a message for those school children in Philadelphia who don't know that piece exists, But he made that, he was able to take that money and make that message. If we only concentrate on the connection between classical music and money, we are going to kill our legacy because we are never going to be able to get the universal message of this music out. Mm-hmm. And I look at many of these pieces as my opportunity to try to break down that wall, to try to get this message to the people who need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so inspiring. And yeah, just thinking of the live concert setting as a stage where you can remove the fourth wall and really open up that communication and that understanding between the art that's being presented and the way it's being perceived. I think that's a really powerful thing, and I think audiences are craving that. I mean, it's, people want to feel that sense of connection and that sense of understanding. And that sense of contextualizing.
I think audiences are also, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
yeah.
but I think audiences are also just craving variety.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be nice to go to an orchestra, to have a subscription at an orchestra and have every concert be formatted differently. Here's the concert where I am participating. Here's the concert where the audience is on stage. Here's the concert where it's just a Mozart symphony and then everyone goes into the lobby and drinks. Here's a concert where, we have people talking on stage telling us what it is. I think we've made it, one of the things I'm very aware of in music, which is a kind of strange problem, is that we have this unbelievable tradition and this unbelievable repertoire, and we have given the repertoire to people to be the stewards of it who are not necessarily working with the greatest business models. So we try to tell people that this orchestral repertoire is mind-blowing, and it is. And then we give it to orchestras who market it with people wearing tuxedos drinking champagne, So, and we know why they do that. It's because they need to raise money from the people who want to wear tuxedos and drink champagne. And we need those people, and we love those people, and those people are definitely a part of our audience, but they can't be our only audience. Mm-hmm. So it's wonderful to think that an orchestra season or a concert season or a chamber music season may have a different format, slightly tinkered for every event. That means it may be a little more difficult for an organization to market each event individually. But I think that's what we want, because I think we're all hungry to think that every experience we have is special. I don't want to have something marketed to me to say, here are 10 equivalent events. But I would be happy to go to a series that said, here are 10 revolutionary events, each one different, and each one presented to you in the best, most idiosyncratic and special way. Mm-hmm. That's a season I would subscribe to.